In the field, engineering and surveying are highly fluid processes of problem-solving and adaptation, but the moment you sit for the FE exam, that fluidity disappears. The exam demands that your understanding of the profession snaps into a rigid, geometric grid of legal constraints. This session focuses on the NCEES model law, specifically Ethics Section 110.20 definitions. Relying on everyday conversational understanding of an engineer or a surveyor is a vulnerability on the exam. Success requires precision with the exact statutory language. Section 110.20 is presented in the source material as a dense, flat, alphabetical list. This format makes it difficult to memorize, because alphabetical order obscures how these rules interact in practice. To study this effectively, we will deconstruct that alphabetical list and rebuild it into a functional mental model. We have grouped these definitions into three interconnected pillars. Node 1 focuses on titles and personnel. Node 2 defines the scope of practice, and Node 3 locks down accountability and authentication. Categorizing the definitions this way transforms an intimidating wall of legal text into a rigorous framework for rapid recall on exam day. We begin with Node 1, titles and personnel. The base unit of this entire legal framework is the person, which the board defines as either an individual or a firm. A firm refers to any form of business or entity other than an individual operating as a sole proprietorship under their own name. Because a firm is an abstract entity, the law requires the designation of a managing agent, a specifically licensed individual tasked with ensuring legal compliance for the entire company. This structure ensures that every person defined by the board, whether a large corporation or a small firm, is ultimately tied back to a licensed individual responsible for its actions. Within that individual branch, the board recognizes three highly specific tiers of practitioners. First is the engineer intern, or surveyor intern. This title applies to an individual who has been duly certified by the board, but does not yet possess the qualifications for full professional licensure. Second is the professional engineer, or professional surveyor. Earning this status requires satisfying four mandatory pillars: specific engineering or surveying education, training, experience, and passing the professional examination. Third is the retired professional. This status requires an active legal choice. The individual must relinquish their license, apply to the board, and receive explicit approval to use the title. The board may also grant inactive status to licensees who are not currently engaged in engineering or surveying practice that requires licensure within that specific jurisdiction. These titles function as legally gated designations, granted by the board only after an individual meets specific statutory milestones. Node 2, the scope of practice, defines the exact activities those authorized individuals are permitted to execute. The practice of engineering is defined as any service or creative work requiring engineering education and training that applies engineering principles to safeguard the health, safety, and welfare of the public. This includes planning, studies, design coordination, commissioning of engineered systems, and teaching engineering design courses. This split screen shows the explicit legal boundary between the two primary disciplines regulated by the board, engineering and surveying. The practice of surveying includes making geometric measurements, determining property lines, mapping subdivisions, performing geodetic surveys, and photogrammetry. The NCEES definitions create a narrow intersection where these two disciplines overlap. Engineers may perform surveying that is incidental to engineering, which the law strictly limits to field measurements to supplement the documentation of existing conditions. The model law sets a hard boundary. Incidental surveying explicitly excludes surveying real property to establish or determine land boundaries, rights-of-way, or easements. Beyond physical tasks, the law also regulates the representation of oneself as a practitioner. An individual is legally construed to be practicing engineering or surveying simply by using a verbal claim, a sign, a letterhead, or a business card that implies they are a licensed professional. Navigating these boundaries, specifically between incidental engineering surveying and land surveying, is essential for answering high-yield questions on the FE exam. Finally, we move to Node 3, accountability, which outlines how the board tracks responsibility for all professional work. The most critical term here is responsible charge. defined as having direct control and personal supervision over engineering or surveying work. A professional is prohibited from authenticating any document or work product that was not produced under their direct responsible charge. The title block of an engineering drawing utilizes two primary tools of authentication: the signature and the seal. A signature verifies intent, and if it is an electronic signature, it must use a secure digital code that uniquely identifies and authenticates the sender. The seal is the symbol, image, or specific list of information applied alongside the signature to finalize the authentication of the document. When accountability involves surveying data, the law requires that the information be classified as authoritative. Authoritative data is presented as trustworthy and competent, meeting or exceeding the exact positional accuracy required for a specific feature or boundary. Positional accuracy describes how closely horizontal and vertical information matches true values relative to the Earth's surface. This is distinct from georeference data, which is simply described in spatial terms. Maps, databases, or reports that provide this authoritative spatial information are legally classified as surveying deliverables. Failure to meet these standards or to maintain responsible charge exposes the practitioner to the board's enforcement powers. Disciplinary action constitutes any final written decision taken against an individual or firm, including reprimands, administrative fines, probation, or license revocation. The seal and signature are legally binding declarations of responsible charge, backed by the full authority of the board to issue disciplinary action. Viewed as a whole, Section 110.20 maps the complete ecosystem of legal engineering. This matrix ensures accountability. A firm in Node 1 designates a managing agent, who takes responsible charge in Node 3 over engineering practice in Node 2, applying a seal. If authoritative standards or authentication requirements are compromised, the system routes directly to disciplinary action. Node 1 establishes that titles require specific, measurable milestones and official board approval. Node 2 outlines strict boundaries of action, enforcing the hard line between engineering and land surveying. Node 3 dictates exactly how work is authenticated and details the consequences of professional failure. These precise definitions constitute the statutory framework that will govern every aspect of your professional license. Memorize the structure. Maintaining the distinction between these nodes will allow you to navigate the ethics section of the exam with confidence.
In this video, we will carefully study model law, Section 110.20 definitions for ethics and professional practice. We'll go slowly and make sure each term makes sense. First, the law defines two main license types: the professional engineer and the professional surveyor. A professional engineer is qualified through education, training, experience, and exams, and must be licensed by the board. A professional surveyor is similar, but focused on surveying education, surveying exams, and surveying data. The law also defines special titles. Retired professional engineer or retired professional surveyor means the person is no longer practicing and has board approval to use the retired title. And an engineer intern or surveyor intern is someone certified by the board, but not yet fully licensed. Now, let's talk about the two big practice definitions. Practice of engineering includes design, analysis, and coordination of engineered systems like buildings, machines, and processes that affect public safety. Practice of surveying includes measuring and mapping the earth, property lines, and creating survey products like maps and reports. Next are governance and responsibility terms. The board is the licensing authority. Jurisdiction means the state or territory that issues the license. Responsible charge means direct control and personal supervision of the work. Rules of professional conduct are the ethical rules adopted by the board. A firm is a business entity, and a managing agent is the licensed person the firm designates to be responsible. The law also defines signature and seal. A signature is a name or mark used to verify a document. A seal is a symbol or image. A licensee is either a professional engineer or a professional surveyor. And disciplinary action includes reprimands, fines, suspension, or license revocation. Finally, for surveying, we have accuracy and status terms. Positional accuracy means how close data are to true locations. Georeferenced means tied to the Earth's surface. Surveying deliverables are maps, reports, or databases showing authoritative locations. Inactive status means a licensee is not practicing and cannot offer services unless exempt. Now let's solve some scenarios. Scenario 1. Alex designs a small bridge and advertises as a professional engineer, but has no license. Does this count as practicing engineering? Yes. The definition says that representing yourself as a professional engineer counts as practice of engineering, even before doing the work. Scenario 2. Morgan measures property lines and creates a boundary map for a client. Is this the practice of surveying? Yes. Measuring boundaries and creating mapping products is explicitly listed under surveying practice. Now it's your turn. Jamie is a retired engineer, but never received board approval for the retired title. Jamie puts professional engineer, retired on a business card. Is this allowed? Pause the video and decide. Here is the answer. It is not allowed without board approval. The retired title is only for individuals who apply and are approved by the board. Without approval, using that title is a misrepresentation. Let's recap the key ideas. First, professional engineers and surveyors must be qualified and licensed. Second, practice includes both doing the work and representing yourself with the protected title. Third, the board, jurisdiction, and responsible charge define legal control and accountability. And finally, surveying accuracy and deliverables emphasize trustworthy spatial information. These definitions set the ethical foundation for professional practice.